Hello everyone, welcome back to Kirklees Guitar School. Today we're going to have a look at Landslide by Fleetwood Mac. This is an absolute finger-picking classic. This bolts into Module 5 of my finger-picking course that you can find on the YouTubes. I'll put a link for that in the description. Before we get into today's class, there's a full free PDF that you can download from either the first or the second link in the description. The first link takes us to his private Facebook group where you can download all of the tabs that I've ever done for free. If Facebook's not your thing, our email list is the second link. If you join that, you'll get a weekly email with all the tabs that we do for the lessons at the school. Really advise getting this. It's a lot of the same thing over and over again, but I've got a feeling that you might want to go over it with a pencil and take some notes. So I'm going to be referencing this. It's a really good idea to go get it. Here are the chords that we're using in today's lesson. Now, I think it's worth mentioning I've got a capo on the 3rd fret. So I've got a C, a G over B, an A minor 7, an E minor, a D over F sharp, and a G. This is also included in the PDF, by the way, so that'll be the last page. It's a 4-page PDF, completely for free, don't want anything from you. Right, so the song and the bit that everybody wants to learn is actually this bit here. So you see I've got a capo, I'm tuned to standard tuning, and I've got a capo on the 3rd fret. Now, it's this recurring pattern over and over and over again. Now what we'll do is we'll break the pattern down and then we'll add the chords into the mixture. So this first one is a C chord, so I want you to fret a C chord. Now what's really interesting about this pattern is it's kind of like Travis picking, but it misses the last note out with the thumb until the chorus later on. So looking at the notation underneath this image here, you've got 2 quavers, 2 quavers, 2 quavers, and then a crotchet by itself. So what that means is the first 6 notes of the bar are all fairly fast and even, and then we let the last note of the bar ring out twice as long as the others. So it'd be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Or in plain English, 6 fast ones, 1 long one. Okay? So I'm playing the C chord. Now P, I, P, M, P, I, P. That stands for what fingers I want you to use. So P is the thumb, I is the index, M is the middle finger. Okay? So with the thumb, I'm going to pick this note here, and then with the index finger, I'm going to pick the next note in the sequence. So I'm picking the A string with the thumb, and then I'm picking the G string with the index finger. Now the more time you spend here, the easier the rest of this will become. Okay? So you've got thumb on the A string, index on the G. Now, for the 3rd note, you're going to take the thumb that's just plucked the A string and you're going to move it down to the D string. You see how I moved that down? Get that under your fingers to start with. And I'm resting my hand on the bridge in this little bevel here, so that bit at the bottom of my thumb, that tender bit, I'm resting on the bridge. Then with my middle finger, I'm here. I'm going to pick the 1st fret of the B string. And once you get to that note, that's a C up there. Once you get to that note, it starts to sound a little bit more like what we're going for. Practice the first 3 notes. Sorry, the first 4 notes, I should say. And as you get into the remainder of the bar, you can see that these 2 notes here, notes 5 and 6, are the same as notes 1 and 2. Yeah? And then note 7 is the same as note 3. So can you think about it as like a group of 4 and a group of 3. But the group of 3 is just the first bit with the end chopped off it. Does that make sense? Now a lot of people want to put a little natural break here, and that's not the case. It's all really even and the breaks at the end of the bar. So I advise that you pause it here and really get that pattern under your fingers, because the more time you spend getting this under your fingers, the easier the rest of this. You'll be amazed actually how quick this all comes together. And look at the thumb. The thumb, I'm really not making a big deal out of it with the thumb, but the thumb's always moving. So my index finger and my middle finger are always picking the G and the B. If you feel like you've got that well enough, we can attach some more chords to this. So and the pattern doesn't change. Can you see how the pattern's just the same? All that's changing is the shape that we're doing with the fretting hand. So you've got a C, a G over a B, which I like to play like this. So I'm using my index finger on the 2nd fret of the A string and then pinky on the 3rd fret of the B string. If you'd rather use your ring finger there, that's okay, but personally I like that stretch. I prefer to play it that way, but either way is fine. Just don't use these two fingers, either index and ring or index and pinky. A minor 7, which is an A minor with the middle note taken out, and then back to G over B. But this pattern doesn't change for all 4 bars. All that's changing is the position of the fretted notes. Now I'm obviously slowing that down, but in the original, but even at a slow tempo, it sounds really good. Now for this, you've got this, although it's labelled as the intro at the beginning of the PDF. That's pretty much, I'd say that's a good 70% of the song. So looking at that, I'm looking at the PDF. I've just taken a screenshot of the intro at the top where it says capo fret 3. We're then going to go into a verse. Now, the verse sections is essentially, it's that chord progression all the way through, but before you go to another section of the song, there's a slight variation in the chords that they pick. So can you see at the top of here for verse 1, this is the 2nd line of the PDF. The top line that we're looking at is nothing different to the intro. We're going to do that 3 times, and after doing that 3 times we're going to graduate to the 2nd line of this slide. C's the same, G over B's the same, A minor 7's the same, and then can you see how we're going to, you stick on an A minor for 4 notes and then you move to a G over B for 4 notes. Now what that means is, let me get a close up. So you know in the pattern at the very beginning we played those first 4 notes. All I want you to do is I want you to take those first 4 notes but play it on A minor and then move to the G over B really quickly. A minor to the G over B. So it's like it's just a slight variation which sort of preempts verse 2. Let me play that bottom line for you. Which lends itself to go back to the C for verse 2, going back to the PDF. Verse 1 and verse 2 are identical and they've both got that same kind of A minor to G over B change. Now if you're struggling to get that in time, just go to the G over B like you would for the other 3 repeats, and to be honest nobody would notice, but if you want to get it absolutely bang on, that's how we're going to do it. So following that we go into a, oh look, there it is, I've zoomed in on it even, look. So just to labour on that before we move, the very last bar of this slide I've zoomed in here, so you've got A minor 7, I've got so much good muscle memory with that, I accidentally played the proper pattern. So there you go, pause the video and get that under your fingers if you need to. So we're going to do verse 1 and verse 2 back to back. And then we go into an instrumental section. Now the instrumental section is just a nice little breather before the chorus. Now there's nothing new in that apart from the very last line of the instrumental. It's an 8-bar piece, an 8-bar phrase. It finishes with the D over F sharp. So you've got C, G over B and A minor 7 as normal. Now when we go to that D over F sharp, now you can play it like that if you want to, but personally I play a regular D chord and put my thumb over the top of the neck. That's how I prefer to do it, because fortunately my hands are big enough. If not, you'll have to have a bit of a shuffle around and it is quite awkward. Now, excuse me, rather than picking the A string for the first bass note, I'm actually going to pick the low E string instead, because I've got that. Now, other than that, and when it goes to a G chord in the chorus, which is coming up next actually, that's the only time we move that bass note, because all the other chords are what we call 5-string chords. C, you only strum 5 strings, G over B, and A minor 7. We completely omit this low E string. So when we get to a D over F sharp and a G, an E minor even, for the next section, you, instead of that A string, bring it up. Now, moving on to the chorus then. The pattern changes in the chorus. Have I zoomed in on that? No, I haven't. Right, the pattern changes in the chorus because all we're going to do, you know how at the very beginning of the song, this note over here was longer. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now, when the chorus comes in, look at this down here. We're going to add an extra G string with the plucked with the index finger. The pattern is identical, apart from I'm just going to pluck an extra note at the end on that G string, that open G string. And what that's going to do is that's going to make all of the notes the same distance apart. If I play it without first, once I get to that point, I just got to pick that G string again. All it is, one note, F sharp, E minor for 2 bars. And that continues on to this. So I've just played the top line. Going to the second line, you've got a C, G over B, A minor, D over F sharp. Now notice how we hit a repeat marker. Now what happens there is we go all the way back to the beginning for the second repeat, and we'll go through all of it like we've done. But then you see this. You see at the bottom of the slide, there's D over F sharp, and there's like a little bracket with a 1 in it. That means on the first ending, first time around that you repeat it, that's how you finish it. And then over here you see the bracket with the 2 chords in it with the little 2, A minor 7 to D over F on the bottom right. On the second time round, you miss the D over F sharp and you play this second bar instead. So you're playing the first 8 bars first time round. Second time round, you play the first 7, skip the D over F sharp at the bottom, and play this dude down at the bottom right to begin with. And that A minor 7 to F sharp is just like that, same idea. But instead of A minor 7 to G over B, you've got A minor 7 to D over F sharp, and they're all equal. Let me play you both of those. So we've got G, F sharp, 2 bars of E minor, C, G over B, A minor 7, first ending, D over F sharp, back to the beginning, G, F sharp, D over F sharp, E minor, C, remember on the second time, G over B, A minor 7, now we're going to skip over A minor, D, and it goes back around. Okay, pause that and get that under your fingers. So by this point, looking at the PDF, we should have got to the solo. Now the solo is just a verse, there's nothing new in that at all. Let me just do a little bit of reading ahead. Yeah. So you've essentially got 98% of the song there, and we just need to talk about how it finishes. Essentially, the way that I think about this song, you've 2 patterns, and albeit there's only 1 note that differs between the patterns. You've got pattern 1 for the verse, which is with the longer note at the end, or you've got with the extra note on the end, which is the chorus. And what I do as well is I tailor how hard you're picking the notes to the section of the song. I play the verse a bit quieter, but but then the choruses. Can you hear how I'm picking those a lot harder, and I'm trying to follow the ebb and flows of the song. So structure wise, we've done intro, verse 1, verse 2, chorus, solo, which is just the same as a verse, with an exception to it finishing on D over F sharp, or F sharp over D I should say. You then go into a second chorus where nothing's different. Then you go into a little instrumental section and a verse which are identical. As you get to the end of the final verse, which I'm looking at about just past halfway, the third page of the PDF, you get this fella over here. G over B, down here. Now what that means, when two notes are stood on top of each other, you've got to pick them at the same time. So there's like a natural break in the song. So this C, G over B, A minor 7 is just the same. And there's something about White Snow, I think is the lyric that Steve is singing there. And I think, actually, when they were recording this, I think that's when it was supposed to finish, but they carried on. It sounds like a happy accident. I'll play that again. And then following that, he goes into what I've labelled the ending, which is C, G over B, A minor. It's just the same as a verse. C, G over B, and then it finishes on that A minor 7. Now, how I'm playing that, I'm fretting the A minor 7 as normal, and I always try and fret the full chords when I can. Yeah, I think even if you're not using some of the notes, it's good practice to do that anyway. And I'm picking the A string, the G string, and the B string with the thumb, index, and middle fingers like this. And I'm picking them all at the same time. So you've got I'm playing the wrong chords. And it kind of sounds like a bit of an impromptu ending, but it's nice, you know? So let me know how you got on with that. It's perceived to be there's a lot in it, but there's not really. It's one of two bits that are just done. It's two very intricate parts that are just done again and again and again. And once you kind of crack the first one, the rest of it will all fall into place. If you're looking at all this and you're like, I don't know how I'm going to get all of that under my fingers, just take the first bit. Just take the C, B over G, A minor, B over G, and just practice that on the couch. Because that's nice enough in itself. If that's all you've taken from this lesson, I consider it a success. And it's got that sort of travesty picking part. Don't forget to go to Module 5. It was uploaded. This comes out on a Friday. Last Tuesday it was uploaded. It's really, 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 really going to help you, is this, to get that under your fingers. Because we're starting to look at Travis picking, which fits into the 6th and final module of the picking course. I'll link it all below. Don't forget to go get this. It's completely for free and it's really going to help you get this kind of stuff under your fingers. Finger picking's not that difficult, it's just repetitive and you've got to do the same things over and over and over again. If I can do it, any of you can. Let me know what you thought of this. Have you got any finger picking ones that you think would be good for the channel? Let me know in the comments. I'll see you next week for another guitar lesson. Thank you so much.